Hi, welcome back to another episode of Shed Customs, and in this episode we're going to be playing with the Velocette again, so I think it's part 14. This time we're going to be manufacturing the parts for the gear change. We're going to be finishing off the brake pedal, and we're also going to be playing along with the Andre damper. So sit back, get your cup of tea out, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the other side. Right, so here's the Velocette gearbox. And what we're going to try and do is reverse the pattern of the shifts. And what I'm going to do is have a lever that's coming down so that when you shift up, it's moving the lever or the gearbox in the correct direction. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to make an aluminium lever with some slots in it for a bit of adjustment. And then I've got this rear set kit, whatever you'd like to call it, that I acquired some time ago. Can't remember where from and what it was used on, but you're going to be able to press that into some sort of service. Now I don't know whether the leverage ratios between, you know, the pivot distance from here to here to there, what I'm doing from here to here, bearing in mind how long the gear change was before. So I think we're just going to have to suck that and see. But anyway, I'm going to drill some holes a bit like that, and we'll see how we get on. Right, so drilled some holes, just marked out this space, and why I'm going offset like this is at the moment this is actually touching on this extended nut. So what I'm hoping is if I cut that off, with it in its operation it's never going to actually touch that, so the fixing will be back here as well. So in its operational swing it will never get that far. Well, that's the plan. Hopefully I won't live to regret that decision, but that's what I'm going to do. And we'll see how we get on. So I'm going to chop a few more bits off. I'm going to radius a profile on the top of here, make that look nice, and let's see how we get on. Right, now I need to turn up a shaft to fit the gear change, so I'm thinking I'm going to have something with a shoulder on it so we can pull it up against the actual aluminium foot peg plate, and maybe a nice washer and a split pin, stop it falling off the end. That measures 12mm ID, so I've looked at making it out of a bolt, but I just don't think that's going to be nice enough. So I've got a bit of mild steel which I can make that from, so that's the next task. So here's the shaft that I made. So obviously this diameter fits the gear change. We've got a solid washer. I've turned this diameter down so it's a really nice fit into the aluminium foot plate. It's got a thread up the inside of it, and then everything will stop moving around. I've made a cap to go on the end, which held in with a nut, and that basically presses up against the gear change. So we'll fit that up, and that'll be the pivot. Alright, there it is. So it's not very easy to make it go into gear at the moment. Gearbox has got no oil in it, but it does feel a bit like there's a lot of slop in the gearbox mechanism, or you need a lot more throw on the gear stick. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out. I guess we're going to have to suck it and see. But I'm quite pleased with the way it all fits. And if it doesn't work, I guess we're going to have to come up with a Shed custom solution, which is going to be a little bit different from what it is at the moment. Anyway, on a more positive note, it's done. I've only jury rigged it, so I need to put a split pin through that, but I'm not going to do that at the moment. until such time as we're fitting it up for the last time. So fingers crossed, over to the brake. So we finished off the brake. So if you've not watched the brake series, then you can go back and watch the start of it. What I did was I drilled a hole through here, and then I don't know if you can see that, but I machined a slot back this way, so this threads into this pin just enough to miss going, stops it going round and round. And then I've bent a kink to miss the frame, and then obviously I've still got that long tail on the end, so when you operate that, as you can see, it doesn't actually go that far. You're not actually far, which is good, and I could take a bit more slack out of that at the moment. Now that springs back quite nicely. I don't think we're going to need a return spring, but I think there's a space in here to fit a return spring that then ends up getting hooked around the brake arm, which I'm going to see if I can buy one of those. So yeah, that's the brake completed. Obviously we've got the adjuster underneath where we can adjust the position of this pedal. So the more I pull back on this thread, in effect I can lift the lever up as long as I adjust the screw to allow it. So it sort of sets the stop point for the brake, or the start point for the brake. So this could come up or go down depending on where I really want it, once I've got used to sitting on the bike and got my seating position right. But yeah, very pleased. So another little side project we've got is the steering damper. So I've got this new nut, the one that came with the bike, steering head nut, didn't fit. And here I am trying to screw it on. Anyway, that screws on there like you might imagine, but it's got no hole in the middle. So we need to create a space because we've got this Andre steering damper. Not quite sure why it's called Andre. I don't know who Andre is, but basically you turn this knob and it creates a friction between it and this arm gets attached to the tank. And what you've got is a post that goes down inside the steering stem, and then effectively this piece at the end pulls up and locks, and then locks it into the hole down the middle, like so. So the first part of the puzzle is I need to turn that down so that I can get that steering damper to go down through that hole, or not that hole, but the new hole that's going to appear. So get this set up on the lathe and we'll do that. Right, I thought I'd show you through the process of how we're going to put the Andre steering damper. So I've taken that steering stem nut and I've machined it down, so that goes on first. And I suppose you're going to ask, well, you might be thinking, what is an Andre steering damper? Well, it's basically, as it says, it's a damper that adjusts the tension on the steering, and it uses a couple of friction discs and a mount onto the tank. So you've got the first part, which is, that's basically got a taper on it which pulls that shaft up and then grips that on the disc, on the stem. So we'll just do the nut that's inside there. Come on. And I've sort of lined up. I don't know if you can see that from your camera angle, but I'll try to. That's nice and tight, and there's a slot round here. So you've got the first disc which locks onto the slot. You've got a nylon friction disc. The damper connection, if you like, which is going to go onto the tank. So that's going to get secured to the tank. Another one of those. And we've got a star washer. Oh, actually, go back a couple of stages, Paul. Let's do that again. So first you've got a connection point, which is tied into the brass damper. You've got the friction washer, the nylon friction washer, the actual damper, and another nylon damper. Then you've got a spreader. Then we've got a spring. Then we've got the actual adjusting knob with Andre written on it, if you're excited about that sort of thing. So this is a right hand thread. And then basically as you do this up, you're applying pressure onto the spider, which is then pressing onto the friction discs. That's dampening or tightening onto that. You've got the resistance against the tank, so it's just giving you a little bit of adjustment. So got a nut and a washer. Well, what I'm going to do about presumably that's mild steel. I didn't, that's just come to me in a cardboard box along with all the rest of the bits. So I don't know what. It'd be nice if this was a plated finish, I suppose. And then last but not least is a left-handed screw, which stops you unscrewing the damper knob all the way off. And then you've got a resistance to the steering, which is basically, if you're into riding big sports bikes, which if you're watching this channel you probably won't be, but if you're on the big sports bikes, you put a steering damper on to stop you getting a speed wobble. So that is how we've assembled the damper, and I'm pretty sure I've got the combination of washers and bits in the right order. If you're screaming at the screen going, you've got it around the wrong way, it should be around this way, this way, and this way, then please put a comment in the comment section and I'll have a look at it. But yeah, it's another period part on a nice period bike. So let's get on with the next thing.